Many people believe that buying a good, reliable, and relatively modern car for under $10,000 is an impossible feat. But as someone who almost buys exclusively sub-$10,000 cars for a living, I can tell you that it's not. Now, we can Google all day long the best cars to buy for under $10,000. You'll find cars that are Toyotas, some Fords, Mazdas, even Subarus. But in this video, I specifically want to talk about sub-$10,000 cars that are either great to buy because they're a good bang for your buck, have incredible reliability, or just surprising gems that are better than you would think they would be for the price. But at the end of this video, I'm also going to be breaking down 3 cars that you should avoid buying at all costs, because despite the fact that these cars are sub $10,000, they still aren't worth buying. First on this list is the Hyundai Tucson. The Hyundai Tucson is great. Not only do they look good, but the newer ones have gotten a lot more reliable, and these are truly an excellent bang for your buck. Many older ones are covered under the Rodnock recall by Hyundai, so even the unreliable ones have a level of safety net. I had a Hyundai Tucson in our fleet for a long time until it was totaled very recently, or at least we think it's totaled. My sister has a Tucson, and just this week we looked at buying this Tucson for $8,500, but we didn't end up buying it. With the Hyundai Tucson, you certainly aren't getting Toyota reliability, but you are getting a relatively modern car that looks really good. And while reliability isn't as good as some other automakers out there, with a thorough PPI, you should be covered. When looking for a sub $10,000 Tucson, it's important to keep in mind that many Tucsons are actually priced above $10,000, but many of these same Tucsons are also very overpriced. And so while you certainly will be able to find some Hyundai Tucsons to buy on third-party websites like AutoTrader or Cars.com, I would recommend looking at Facebook Marketplace, which, spoiler alert, is a trend that you'll see throughout this video. In order to find a good one, you'll just simply search Hyundai Tucson on Facebook Marketplace, and then you'll look for ones that fit the bill. The great thing about this car is that you can not only find ones that are $10,000, but you can also find ones that are clean title as well as relatively low miles as well. I'm a big believer that Hyundai products in general are a great bang for your buck buy, and I think the Hyundai Tucson is a really great example of this. The next one on this list is one that I have repeatedly said on my videos to friends, family, and I've even told myself this, that if I was to buy a car for the sole purpose of having an ultra reliable vehicle and it had to be under $10,000, this car would hands down be the one that I would choose. And this car is a Toyota Yaris. I would choose an older Toyota Yaris over virtually any other car when it comes to budget reliability. And while the Toyota Yaris isn't necessarily going to be the best bang for your buck, because truthfully, I think the Toyota Yaris is a bit expensive for what you get feature-wise with the car, but on the other hand, the Yaris reliability is truly unmatched, and that really is what you're paying for here. For OG viewers of my channel, you know that I used to buy a lot of Toyota Yarises for Turo. In fact, over the years, I've probably owned close to a dozen, if not more. And historically, I've purchased Toyota Yarises because of their superb reliability. Though over the years, I have kind of stopped buying these cars because they are very expensive, and in general, Turo guests don't really appreciate the Toyota Yaris as much as I do. But I will say, of my nearly 50 to 60 cars I've owned over the last 7 years, Toyotas have hands down the least amount of problems, the best maintenance, and reliability and maintenance costs. Truthfully, there really isn't even a close second. Toyota Yaris can be found pretty much anywhere for under 10 grand. If you just want to find one and you aren't as concerned for model, year, and mileage, you can find these cars on Cars.com, Facebook, local dealerships. But if you want a good price and a steep discount, then going on Facebook will absolutely be your best bet. There are a variety of price points from a 2010 model for 5 grand to a newer model like a 2016 for $9,500. You'll never hear me say that a Toyota Yaris is the coolest or even the most modern car that you can buy for under $10,000, but it absolutely is one of the most reliable ones you can purchase for this price point. The next one is a controversial one, but I'm going to say it, and that is a Mercedes-Benz C300. Now, this car most likely will never make it onto an official list of best cars that you can buy for under 10 grand because, well, it's a Mercedes. But I have 2 Mercedes, a 2009 Mercedes C300 and a 2013 Mercedes C250, and I always say that having a car on Turo is sort of a litmus test for reliability. If a car can be reliable through the abuse of a Turo renter, it can probably withstand the abuse use of a regular owner. And boy, have our Mercedes stood the test of time of turbo abuse. I have gained so much respect for Mercedes because of how these cars have performed over the years. They truly are excellent vehicles. They look great, they're timeless, and they're pretty cheap. You can find plenty of C300s for under 10 grand, and while I don't like the C250 as much as I like the C300, this could be an alternative. Unlike the Toyota Yaris, which is basically bulletproof out of the box, if you're choosing to buy a Mercedes C300 for under 10 grand, ensuring that you're buying the right one is incredibly important. And whenever you're purchasing this vehicle, a PPI is not something that I would skimp on. Because while doing the proper due diligence and getting a PPI done on a purchase for a C300 could ultimately result in you buying an excellent car for a great price, if you don't take these steps and if you buy the wrong car, this vehicle can become a money pit very, very quickly. And unlike a Toyota Yaris, where maintenance and repairs are really reasonably priced, with a Mercedes, any type of repair and maintenance issues can become expensive very quickly. This car is obviously not going to be as practical as many other $10,000 cars out there, and if you're looking for practicality and reliability, I would never in a million years recommend that you buy one of these cars. But let's be realistic with ourselves, there are a lot of people out there that care about brand and flash more than they care about reliability, and if you are someone who wants a cooler car or a luxury car for a really cheap price point, then a Mercedes C300 is personally what I would go with. For the best Mercedes prices, I would recommend going to Facebook. I've come across a lot of Mercedes over the years from sellers who either just want to get rid of their car or they need to get rid of it, or just lazy sellers who aren't eager to get the top dollar for their car. These are times where you're not only going to be able to find a $10,000 Mercedes, but possibly even one that's a couple $1,000s cheaper. While on sites like cars.com, I have found that Mercedes of really any model and year are going for a premium price, versus on Facebook where you can find those one-off listings that are a killer deal. Now, these are cars that if you're looking for either a mix of style, reliability, or you just simply want a good value, these are ones that I would personally consider. But now onto the ones that really, no matter what their circumstances are, I would avoid these. First is the Ford Fiesta. If you think of dirt cheap cars, Ford Fiesta is almost no doubt going to be on that list. But you truly get what you pay for here. The Ford Fiesta, while a sharp car for the price, is a car that is plagued with transmission issues. And while this car may only cost you a few grand to purchase, you can be sure that this car either previously had or will have transmission problems in the future. And once this happens, you will be out a lot of money. While I absolutely see how the Ford Fiesta could be a very tempting car for a budget buyer, unless you have a connection to a really cheap and qualified mechanic, this is a car that I would avoid. Next is Audi. Unlike Mercedes, I would not recommend buying an Audi that is old or cheap. While it is certainly possible to find Audis that may be worth buying as they get older, in most cases, especially to the average buyer, older Audis are a recipe for disaster. Cracks in the turbo housing, the supercharged V6 has common coolant leak problems, which can cause complete engine failure. The bigger SUVs have engine leaks that require you to remove the entire engine and transmission for repair. Not to mention the fact that the cost for parts for Audi vehicles are also very expensive, because it is the cousin to the Lamborghini after all. This is a car that you can buy for very, very cheap, at least in relation to how much the car was at MSRP. But there is a reason why Audis have a higher depreciation rate than the majority of luxury cars out there. And there are a reason why they're so incredibly cheap whenever they are 8 to 12 years old. And long-term reliability, maintenance, and the cost of this reliability and maintenance is certainly one of these reasons. Last but not least is anything Nissan. Nissans are known to be a very normal, everyday make for a vehicle, so you'd think they'd be just as reliable as some of the other companies like Toyota, for example. But hopefully, if you've spent any amount of time researching vehicle reliability or just doing research on cars in general, you probably know that this isn't really the case with Nissans, and Nissans are plagued with reliability and maintenance problems. Nissans, especially older ones, are plagued with problems due to the CVT transmissions, and they truly are a ticking time bomb. Now, Nissans can be a very well-priced vehicle, and if you find one used and you buy one, you may feel like you're getting a really solid deal and a great bang for your buck. But you truly are a transmission problem away from having to shell out a lot of money in order to get that fixed, and unfortunately with Nissan, transmission problems aren't rare at all. In fact, they are incredibly incredibly common. So my recommendation is that it's best to stay away. Now, I could talk about the cars that I recommend buying and the ones that I recommend avoiding all day long for a variety of different price points. And while there are, of course, a lot more vehicles that you can buy that are excellent cars for under 10 grand, and there are probably even more that are ones you should stay away from, but I do think that the 6 that we've talked about in this video at least begin to scratch the surface of some different vehicles that you can look at if a $10,000 price point is what you're aiming for. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.